Reborn, the first thing I did was swallow a stone whole, and even forced the woman who deeply loved me to swallow a green bamboo snake alive in front of everyone. At this moment I was holding the increasingly weak Xiao Wanru, took out my phone, and looked at the time on the screen. Gao Junhao pushed through the crowd and rushed towards me. 3. I held Xiao Wanru and softly counted down. As Gao Junhao passed by, he didn't move an inch. 2! The tall figure in front of me was about to reach me, and many people instinctively held their breath. 1. As the time reached exactly 10 o'clock, a burst of light containing immense energy exploded outside the window, the dazzling light almost blinding everyone. This scene lasted only a moment and quickly dissipated. Gao Junhao, who was rushing over, was temporarily blinded by the flash and fell heavily to the ground. After the sudden flash, an invisible electromagnetic storm swept through the entire solar system in just a few seconds. During this time, everyone instinctively looked out the window, but saw nothing. Most people quickly snapped back to reality, feeling indifferent, while only a few started searching online for news, only to find their phones had no signal at all. Gao Junhao also got up from the ground and angrily charged at me again. Today I must stand up for Wanru. His tone was filled with murderous intent. Gao Junhao, who has been training for years, has a robust body standing 6 feet 3 inches tall, with very defined muscles. At this moment, all the classmates silently mourned for me in their hearts. But just as that massive fist was about to hit me, a sudden change occurred. The once bright sky turned to night in just a few breaths, and a streak of blood-red light fell from the sky, caused by the solar storm disrupting the magnetic field. This led to a change in the sky's color. At the moment this anomaly occurred, Xiao Wanru in my arms let out a heart-wrenching scream. Everyone instinctively looked over, only to see Xiao Wanru, who had swallowed the green bamboo snake, with a pale face and a drastically changed appearance. On her head grew a pair of dragon horns, flickering with silver arcs of electricity. Around her pretty cheeks were scattered blue and white scales, and on her shoulders, a small dragon wreathed in green smoke coiled and intertwined. Her pure white long dress was like scale armor, emitting a faint blue and white glow, tightly outlining her graceful figure. Behind her, a blue and white dragon tail swayed gently, resembling a mythical beast saintess from a TV drama. After the transformation, Xiao Wanru's mind was immediately filled with this information. At this moment, the meticulous Xiao Wanru vaguely understood the purpose of my earlier actions, which was entirely for her benefit. Already devoted to me, she naturally couldn't tolerate anyone daring to challenge me. She stood in front of me, simply extended her palm, and easily blocked Gao Junhao's massive fist. Not only did Gao Junhao's punch have no effect, but the moment it hit Xiao Wanru's palm, his hand was burned by the layer of divine thunder covering Xiao Wanru's jade spirit armor. At this moment, Gao Junhao screamed in agony, clutching his charred right hand that was emitting wisps of smoke. He endured the intense pain and frantically searched for water to pour on his hand. At this moment, the scales on Xiao Wanru's face and feet gradually disappeared beneath her skin, and the dragon horns on her head quickly retracted, returning to their original state. She wanted to look at me eagerly for praise, but at this moment I was clearly unchanged from before. However, Xiao Wanru clearly felt a tremor touching her soul when facing me. It was the fear from the depths of her genes, like a small creature facing the vastness of the universe. She vaguely guessed that it was related to what I had mentioned before about having consumed other things. Xiao Wanru didn't know what those things were, but the feeling of wanting to submit both body and mind made her love for me even deeper. She didn't know how I knew everything about the mutations, but she understood that I wouldn't harm her. Her current abilities were granted by me. Just then, a crimson light burst in from outside the window, growing even brighter, illuminating the night as if it were a fiery day. Almost simultaneously, Gao Junhao's screams abruptly stopped. After a brief pause, the classroom was filled with a chorus of screams again. Many people, unable to grasp the situation, were affected by the eerie light from the sky and began to scream in panic, causing chaos. At this moment, the crimson light faded, revealing a massive, bloody, fish-shaped figure with protruding white bones on the other side of the classroom. Underneath this figure were 2 bloody people. The others, upon seeing this, fell to the ground in fright, staring in horror at the 2 figures convulsing beneath it, while the terrifying, bloody figure seemed to be making chewing sounds. Among the crowd, there were several strange figures mixed in. Some were as small as ghost monkeys, some twisted like worms, and some swift like wolves. But they all shared a common trait. Their skin was made of turned-out flesh. They looked hideous and terrifying, like demons crawling out of hell. At this moment, they were relentlessly pursuing the normal students in the classroom, wielding sharp blades and bearing fangs, tearing the captured students in half on the spot. The bloody feast turned the slightly chaotic classroom into a massacre, resembling hell itself. Class monitor Zhang Ya stared blankly at the scene, completely unable to comprehend what had happened, and why the world had changed so drastically after the 2 flashes of light. What he didn't know was that those lights and electromagnetic storms contained strange powers, and their combination led to the mutations. Only those with a strong enough mind to resist the erosion of those strange powers could awaken extraordinary abilities based on the remnants within them, known as mimicry, divine weapons. Gao Junhao was clearly not one of those with a strong enough mind. During his moment of distraction, he couldn't resist the erosion of the strange powers. The wild and eerie energy rapidly invaded every corner of his body, like frozen blood threads emerging from beneath his skin, constantly scratching and contracting on his skin, his normal skin being tightly bound by countless tiny blood threads until blood overflowed. In just 2 or 3 seconds, Gao Junhao's body shrank to nearly half its size, drenched in blood, completely unrecognizable as a human, and then, within a few breaths, twisted into a pretzel-like shape impossible for humans to achieve. After a violent contortion, extremely sharp bird-like claws grew from his feet, accompanied by a nearly eardrum-piercing screech of a raptor. The deformed Gao Junhao twisted and lunged at the girl in front of him, moving so fast it almost left an afterimage, and in an instant he slashed a girl in half with his sharp claws. The class monitor, Zhang Ya, was so frightened that she kept retreating. I watched the birdman creature howling on top of the corpse. My pupils contracted slightly. It was the Blood Moon Demon Bird. But how did this deformed beast mutate from Gao Junhao?
To maintain access, subscribe to this channel. Hit the bell icon to stay informed.